Welcome everyone to our July 13th, 2022 CPUG, Seattle Power BI User Group. That is our logo, the pug, and the column chart, not a bar chart, but a column chart, Power BI. So glad to have you all there. Some of you are brand new, welcome. Everyone is welcome here. And we'll go over some of the rules around our community that will show you why we feel like everyone is welcome here. So we'll introduce, we'll kind of introduce the group. We'll talk about CPUG, what we're all about. We'll lay some ground rules out there. And the ground rules are just to protect everyone. That's it. We're not about bureaucracy. We're about safety and about openness and about people feeling like they can be vulnerable and share whatever they want to share. So that's what we're all about. We do have a couple announcements, just a couple of things on the deck that are coming up, and then we'll introduce our fabulous speaker, Mr. Chris Wagner. Quick introduction for me. My name is Russ Brinkerhoff. I am with Slalom Consulting here in Seattle, and I'm one of the many leaders on the Seattle Power BI User Group, and you are all invited to come be a part of our leadership crew. There is an opportunity to volunteer. We're always looking for people to help that want to pitch in, do things. There's a lot that goes into pulling one of these events off, and I'm excited to when we can get this COVID mess behind us and start to get together in person. Even Calgary, Canada is invited to come down to Seattle. We'll have some food, we'll have some drinks, it'll be fun. And we have a commitment, Chris, we should get you to commit to this too, but we already have a commitment from the guys in a cube that they're coming once we meet in person. So we'll have Adam Saxton and Patrick LeBlanc there once we can meet in person. So that's coming. That'll be fun. All right, what is CPUG? We are a collection of Power BI enthusiasts on the west side of Seattle. We have to say west side because there is an east side group that we're friends with. The east side group meets in Redmond on Microsoft's campus, and so they're kind of a little bit more like old school, like Excel and, you know, a little bit of Power BI, but, you know, they get stuck in the old technologies. We're cutting edge on the west side, so we'll focus on the latest and greatest in Power BI. In fact, you're going to hear some stuff today that's brand spanking new, and I'm so excited for Chris to talk about it, so that'll be fun. We want to be an inviting, inspiring group. We want everyone to feel welcome here. Like I said, this is a place where you can be vulnerable. We've had people share how they came to know Power BI. Some people are brand spanking new to the platform. That's fantastic. We don't care where you are. Some people are super advanced and they're always pushing the envelope with us. That's okay too. But just come, share your journey, share what you're all about, share what questions or troubles or business problems you're having, and we'll help each other out. That's what the community is all about. And Wesley, I think there's a place for us to have some conversations on the meetup site. Is that right? Isn't there a discussion board out there?
Yes, there is. Yeah, particularly, you know, if you're running into any like technical issues and you know you've reached out to your buddies, whatever it is, you know, if you've hit a point where you're like, you know what, I need to phone a friend. Board is a great way to go about doing that. So you can go to our meetup site.
For that a little bit later in the deck. I believe we do. So we'll call that out. Okay, here's the ask for today. Please be visible if you're comfortable. We love it when people show up on video. Samantha gets a gold star. A couple other folks turn their video on as well. We really appreciate that. Those that smile and say hello. And it's easier for our speakers too, if they can see their audience. It's hard to speak to, you know, either a set of initials or, you know, maybe someone's stock picture. It's not as fun. So anyway. Do our speakers a favor. Please be aware of others. Let's be friendly. Let's be patient. Let's be welcoming and respectful, open to all viewpoints. We don't get political in here, but if you want to be political, that's okay. We'll be open to that too. And understand that it's okay to have differences, and it's okay if someone says your idea stinks, there's a better way to do it. Great. Let's hear all the ideas that are out there. We're all about learning and growing together. That's what we're about. None of this is about position or status or you can't talk to this person or that person. We are all one. And so we really appreciate you all being here and being a part of CPUG. And we do have the best name out there, CPUG. You can't beat CPUG. It's just such a fun name. It's really fun. And we're working on some CPUG swag, actually. So that's coming soon. We'll show that off in one of the future meetings, but we're working on it. Here's some announcements. So let's talk about some of our friends. Radicad. If you don't know about Radicad, search that out. Fantastic website. They've got a Data Insights Summit in Chicago. And we are a national and now international group. So we might have some people dialing in from that part of the country. That's the 12th to the 14th. I assume that there's some information out there on the Radicad website but they're fantastic. We always love hearing from them. Discussion board. Okay, here we go. Ask for help and fellow pirates. Okay, fantastic. Let me copy this link. Oh, it's hard to copy when I'm in display mode. Wesley, will you post this link into the chat? I would love folks to have that right now as a clickable link so that they can go and bookmark that and add any questions they have out there in the discussions board. That would be fantastic. And then here's a link to our YouTube channel. It is hard to find us if you're just searching us. I don't think we have enough hits yet, but we'll get there. But these recordings are out there on YouTube. So you can go back if you missed something. And I've had conflicts before. I've had to miss things. It's always fun to go back and see what you missed because these are always fun sessions. And with that, we're going to invite you to come be involved. Our leadership team has shifted over time. We've had different people come in and out, and that's okay. If you want to jump in for 3 months or 6 months, fantastic, do it. If you want to just jump in for 1 month and say, I'd love to help maybe, set up the next activity or sponsor a get together or help out with some marketing or some promotion, whatever you think you want to do, please come forward and let us know. Whatever your forte or strength is, you're welcome. We'd love to have you. And if anything, just giving us feedback. Hey, how can we get better? Right? And then we always listen and we take those things into account. And we try to plan every single one of these events to be better than the last. And I think so far we're doing okay. It's a really fun group. All right, with that, let's get to the meat. Chris Wagner. I am so excited to have Chris here. And Gaston is going to do the official introduction. But for those of you that don't know, we're in the presence of a data god. So Gaston, go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ross. I really love the energy that Ross always bring to the table on the meetups. First of all, I would love to say thanks to Chris to be here today. This is all around community, and I've been teaching community engagements for a long time, and the way we interact with Chris, we were talking before we start recording this session, is we meet from community engagements. I love what Chris been doing for communities. He has a really great insights around not just talking around Power BI, implementing Power BI at the enterprise layer with all the blockers, challenge. I love the book that he showed before in terms of new features coming to Power BI. Not always is great, and the usage of those kind of new features that they are not great all the time, but it's coming, and it's great to have this feeling of feedback around community, that we can address new ideas, new features, going back and forth with the product team. They are hearing for us. They are answering our question. They are trying to get the sense of how the hell we are implementing Power BI in our clients, and what we are doing with the product, because sometimes, they have an idea of how it's going to be using these features or this in the product, and, we are landing in a totally different way, and that's okay. So first of all, I want to say thanks again to Chris. Welcome, Chris, to this one. He's an amazing speaker, and welcome again to our CPAC.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This is my absolute favorite topic in the world to talk about. I could talk data and I could talk Power BI 24/7, 365. So if there's ever any topic you want to talk about in this space, I am happy to have that conversation, and we could talk for quite a while. All right. But I have some specific things I want to talk about, and not just talk about today, but I want to do a demo, and time is burning because I also want to hear back from you guys because, well, frankly, I can make YouTube videos all day talking to myself. I really want to get some feedback and interaction from you and understand what's going on inside your space. So I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation, and let's get this going. All right. So this is our Data God's Guide to the Citizen Data Engineering. As Gaston said, my name is Chris Wagner. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, Analytics Rebel, Data God, Power BI Boss, White Rabbit, as well as SOB and some other names that we probably can't relay in public, in polite society. I am a senior finance data analytics solutions architect for Rockwell Automation. I help manage our 30,000 Power BI users at Rockwell. Prior to this, I worked at Northwestern Mutual, where I was part of the enterprise team that managed our 20,000 user deployment and reports that were sent out and deployed to their entire sales force. I am the founder of Kratos BI, home of the data gods. So if you're looking for how the heck do I become a data god, how do I learn more about all of the stuff that I do, please hop on over to my website, and I probably should have that up to show you, but I didn't pull it up. So, check out, see all the stuff that's out there. Check out my YouTube channel. Putting out more and more content out there. So there should be a ton of stuff that is out and available for you. So hopefully you can learn from that. All right. And please do connect with me on all the platforms, right? Like I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, Twitter. I do try to post regularly in those spaces. So I want to connect with you. I want to see what you have going on, because I think that is super helpful. Before we go any further, one of the things I want to just bring up as to why and how we evolved to have this as a topic of conversation is 2.5, 3 years ago when I joined Rockwell Automation. I know it's over 3 years now. 3 years ago when I joined Rockwell Automation, they already had a very large group of people that were building and working inside of Power BI. But we had a challenge when it came to support and how we engage and how we bring people together, right? And how we solve problems. What we did to solve that issue was we created power hours where every Friday from 8 to 10, we would interact with people and understand what was the challenges were, what the issues were. And it was from this interaction with people that we realized, you know what, we needed to have this citizen data engineering track or this program. We were really kind of excited that we started talking about this. We started doing this, and it actually turned out that this is something that is really starting to take on, and even other organizations, and Gartner is even saying that this is something that's really key inside of companies. Okay, so I'm going to presume a lot of people here know what data engineering is, right? Those are the people that bring in curate data, right? When we talk about citizen data engineering, it's important for us to have this program because the information that your business users have about what's going on inside the systems, what's going on inside that business is incredibly valuable when it comes to designing, building, and managing their data sources, right? So, it takes a lot to pass those requirements and get that business knowledge out of the business and then hand it over to IT and get some data engineers up and running and building that out. With citizen data engineering, you cut out that last part and you get people building things out and getting it ready for them to just start to engage with and start to build these things out for themselves. Fortunately, inside of the Power BI platform, especially with Power Query and Power Query everything. If you're not aware, you should Power Query everything. You're able to, a citizen data engineer is able to build, manage, and manage those pipelines and loads, and then those can even be moved up into the enterprise. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm getting excited about this stuff. All right. If you're new to the concept of data engineering and you want to get started on this path, or if you're thinking about implementing data engineering inside your organization, remember, always remember, you want to keep things as simple as they possibly can. Okay. Try to make sure that you're always looking at how you can refactor and make things as basic as they possibly can. Otherwise, what's easy for a full-on data engineer is going to be way too much for a citizen data engineer to engage with, right? So whatever you do, you want to keep that as easy as you possibly can. When we talk about data engineering, I want to first quick touch in on the basics, right? So we're talking about sourcing data, extracting it, right? So sourcing is where does all this data come from? Extracting is pulling it out, bringing it into your cloud environment. Your transformation piece is how you change that up, then you load it, and then you share that out. Now, this works out really well inside of the Power BI environment because this is how we now have the ability to do this, right? When we source information, this is all of our OneDrives, this is our SharePoints, this is where ever that data lives, right? Now, this is something that's key that a lot of people jump over because they think, hey, Power Query everything, awesome. I built out some loads inside of my Power BI file. I want to bring that in, and I can just bring it in. I can do my extract, I can do my transform, and I can bring it all together in one space. But here's where I'm going to say, if we look at keeping things as simple as possible, we can really simplify our workflow and our troubleshooting, okay? And that's why we want to make sure we understand, like, first thing you do is you extract data. Next thing you do is you transform it. And then the final thing you do is you load it, okay? And don't buy into any of this. So this is ETL, right? ETL, right? Like load at the end, right? You'll hear some people say that we've gone to ELT. They're lying. There's always a load at the end. They're lying. There's a load someplace at the very end of all of these processes that the data gets loaded to. So okay, hey, great. Someone came up with a way of sticking a new like a T in earlier, or whatever it is, right? But don't worry about that. Like, this is the paradigm you should be thinking about it, and you're gonna do just fine. Okay. When we talk about I'm supposed to be presenting this, and I'm not doing it. There we go. When we talk about presenting stuff or where we store information, we really have a couple different spaces and ways we're going to be storing it. We talk about storing it in a database. The advantage of the database is we get the ability to run T-SQL against it. We bring compute with us. We can do things like add in row-level security, bring in stored procedures, all of that good stuff. Your citizen data engineering space probably going to be as lightweight in that area as you can, right? But it's good to understand those concepts so that, when you go down that maturity path, you can scale it up and go, you know what? I need these things. I need this functionality. Time for SQL Server, right? Or I need to expand out. Now I need to go to Data Lake, right? Understanding these things is core to know how you grow them, right? Our next big thing is our file storage. Typically, classically, we think of these as CSVs. These have become like Parquet files, and even we've gone on to like Delta Lake files. These are very common out there. But generally speaking, if we're talking like the Power BI space today, everything is in a CSV file. So if you've configured out your ADLS G2 storage, you can even browse out to every copy of every data flow run that you've ever had, and you can see them all out there, and you just a text editor, you can go out and browse it, okay? We want to keep these things simple, all right? The nice thing about our data tools in the Power BI space is that they bring a real good close alignment with our data engineering tools, right? So when we talk data orchestration, inside a data engineer is talking Data Factory and Azure Functions. Power BI Citizen Data Engineer, you're talking data flows, right? Transformation, you can get into all sorts of things, Spark, Kafka, Python, right? Power BI, data flows, right? And Power Query, right? So simple, right? Storage, whole milieu of things. Now in Power BI, we're talking data flows, and now, I didn't put the icon in. And now the new data warehouse or Datamart, okay? Sharing, very simple, tons of ways to share inside of for a data engineer to be sharing stuff and different mechanisms, right? It can get really complex, and if you need that complexity, you might need a data engineer. But in the Power BI realm, keep it simple, data flows. Life cycle, here's where we get a little bit crazy here. Data engineers are comfortable with the full DevOps life cycle. So, we've got our Git repos, and we've got our run books and all that good stuff. But for a citizen data engineer, you don't need to know all of that stuff, okay? Again, we want to keep this as simple as possible. Fortunately, Power BI offers us a thing called Power BI pipelines that we can use. The nice thing about pipelines is it makes it really easy to build stuff up in like a development environment and then promote that into our production environment, okay? These concepts are often very unfamiliar to business users, right? They live in production, right? They live in the fire, right? And to some people, hey, that's great, but other times and other people, this is a brand new concept, all right? Take the time to explain this to people so that they can get used to it. All right. It's important. All right. Let's keep going. All right, because you don't want to hear me talk about this stuff. Data management. Now you will see inside of. I disagree with Databricks definition. They call gold, silver, or bronze, silver, and gold the like this is raw. This is their fully data model, data warehouse layer, and then this is aggregate stuff. That's stupid. Don't go by that, right? When you talk about loading and bringing data into your environment, bronze is your raw landed data that you've brought in, right? This is going to be your initial data flow that you're going to use this to get it out of whatever system you're in to bring it into the Power BI service, okay? And the reason you want to separate this out from your silver is because of the connectivity that you might have between whatever that source system is and the Power BI. You want to incur that cost a singular time, right? So that raw landed information might be used many different times, and you might have to do some weird looping mashup transformations as you're doing it. If you're trying to extract it out of a system and do those mashups, you can see lots of failures, lots of issues inside your loads, right? And then troubleshooting it can be really a pain in the neck, right? Because often your performance on this stuff is really dependent upon the performance of wherever that source system is. So if, you know, on Tuesday afternoon when you're sitting down to try and troubleshoot it and it runs really fast, well, why the heck does it fail every morning at 6 a.m.? Well, it's because at 6 a.m. every morning, that system is under heavy loads and it can't do whatever it is you're asking when it comes to, transforming and mashing up your data, right? So your query folding starts to break and you have all sorts of issues there. Well, it doesn't break, but you have issues because it can't handle whatever's being folded against it, okay? But if you break it up and say, just give me it all or give me what I need, and then you go on to that next layer, you can make this much, much easier. Having this layer in between here allows for transformations, and some will call this you can make this a gold presentation layer. I do like to, just inside this presentation layer, you add in whatever your business-friendly names are inside your space. So when you're working through any coding issues that you're building out, you're using those more structured names are on the back end. But, as citizen data engineers, you kind of take this as you need it, okay? Now, we're running low on time, so I'm going to quick go through this. We kind of talked on development lifecycle, dev, test, prod. Make sure you introduce this in the appropriate order. Start people, especially in the business development area, who only work with Excel files and only work in production. Start with just production and then roll back and have one additional environment, and then only go back to the third environment when you need it, okay? This does incur additional overhead when it comes to processing and managing it, where a lot of business people and a lot of people who might be starting down this path aren't going to be accustomed to, and they're not going to like it, right? So we want to help them through this process and take it in baby steps, right? So having one additional layer in there is really helpful. Explain that to them, because now you can have your thing that runs and works inside production, and then you can test some new stuff out. And if it breaks, you don't have to worry about it, right? You broke it in test. Who cares, right? You can roll it back. You can, you can use it, but take the time to explain that to people as to why that needs to happen. Plus, that'll help you when it comes time to you managing code and projects, and you say, hey, we're still in tests. We still got to validate that. They'll really understand more of what that means, okay? Now, some core subjects inside of here that we'll touch on throughout the demo, but I'm not going to go into great detail on this. As you stand up a citizen data engineering program inside your organization, and this goes to anyone who's on this call. Maybe you're not, you think to yourself, this sounds great, but I'm not like IT boss. So I can't I don't have the authority to do this. I've got great news for you. If data flows and whatnot are enabled inside your organization, I have issued the blessing. You can go ahead and start to talk about building out a citizen data engineering program inside your company, okay? Take the leadership on it, take the reins. The data gods have blessed this concept and this idea. The reason why is you want your community building this out, and you want everyone taking part in this, okay? Because frankly, it is the knowledge that comes out of our business that is most important as part of this, right? It's how we as IT professionals can help guide that. And if you don't have someone inside your IT organization help nurture that, you be that person, right? Pick up that torch, carry that forward, all right? Hopefully your organization will think, wow, that's great, and they'll move you on. But if not, then maybe that tells you something about your organization too, all right? And then here is the best thing that is available as part of this is, as an individual developer, if you build out some Power Queries that start to deliver real business value, and you want to start scaling this up to the entire organization, the great news is that's something that you can totally do within Synapse. So if you build out a whole framework of information and flow where you add all sorts of business value and you define priorities and metrics, and you want that to be able to scale out eventually out of your area and into an IT space, this is completely possible now with Power BI and Synapse. You could take that M code, you could take that Power Query, you can move that up into that enterprise, and that can start to come out of that citizen data engineering space and move into that data engineering space. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't necessarily have to rewrite everything into a Databricks notebook or an ADF pipeline. You don't have to do weird conversions. You can take that M code and move that on out, okay? Now, the big things here that we're always talking about citizen data engineering is making sure that you, number one, focus in on quality, okay? People will naturally focus in on delivering. That's always important. That's number two. Make sure you're focusing in on quality. Especially as we work in the cloud, there's some changes and some differences when it comes to working in the cloud that make quality something that's really important to keep an eye on. And in fact, moments before I shared my screen, I found my quality dashboards were failing, and I can't wait to show you how my quality dashboards failed because I had stopped paying my Azure bills. So I'm paying now. It'll fix itself tomorrow, but I can't wait to go over and show it to you as a good example as to why this needs to be there, why you want to do this. All right. Okay. Enough of me rambling on. I'm going to go into my demo. Okay. So if we're talking about working inside Power BI, can you guys see my screen? Everything all good? Yeah, still? All right. Awesome. Now, two big components that we're talking about here: data flows and Datamarts. Okay, those could be the biggest things that we have. Datamarts is a brand new capability. In fact, inside of the Power BI space that allows you to write queries against the data that you bring into the environment. Previously, you bring in data flows and you just bring it into a model. Datamarts allows for you to have a landing spot in between there where you can start to consume it and you can do things from there. I'm going to show that to you in just a second here. All right, so a big point of reference when it comes to how you build and manage your environment. And I just cleaned my environment. Aren't you proud of me? We want to make sure that we go through and we separate out our environments based upon the workload that's going on. Okay, so I have my reports. Right, my reports are being consumed by my users, and in my case, I just have one audience, which is demos. So, like, it's not. You probably have many report workspaces. That's all fine. Then I've got data sets. This is where I manage my analytical data models. This is where my Gen 2 models are all pointing to, right? It all exists inside of here. And then the last one you want to make sure that you have is your Datamart space. Okay. And now we want to have so two different types of things when it comes inside of our Datamart is we're going to have our. Oh, that's weird. Wasn't there another icon? Oh, no, I'm having weird. There it is. That's weird. So three types of content that you're going to see inside of your Datamart workspace. Number one, you'll see any data flows that you've defined separately. Number two, and that's symbolized right here, data flows separately. Number two is data set, because when you create a Datamart, it'll automatically build out a data set for you. And then number three, it's going to create an actual Datamart or a data warehouse. Oh, they changed the icon on it. Good. It used to be the SQL DW thing, so that's good. So it's a Datamart. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So now if you've played with Datamarts at all, you'll know that the first thing that you do when you create a Datamart, you go to create a new data flow. It's going to say, hey, did you want to create a Datamart instead? And if you said yes, oops, we're going to go back. If you said yes, it'll actually go through creating the Datamart, and the Datamart will give you the ability to basically create data flows. But here's where we're going to make a recommendation for you to not follow that instructions. And we're going to separate this out a bit. And this is actually now inside the Microsoft documentation and recommended best practices, is that you build out data flows on any entities that you want to have inside of your Datamart separately from your Datamart, okay? And that goes back to the slide that we had where we were talking about, where I was talking about the extract piece, right? So this extraction layer, making sure that you have everything out of whatever the source is and into that target space. So like into the Power BI place, right? Like this isn't, once you've done this, every bit of data now exists inside the Power BI engine. Now do your transformations on top of that. It'll automatically then load it inside of your Datamart, okay? So that's going to be something that you're really going to be important to do. If I go in and look at any of these, you know, this is Power Query, right? So like nothing shocking here. So if you use any Power BI data sets and you go into transform, you know, it's the most simple thing in the world is you just grab whatever your M code is here and you can drop it into a brand new data flow, right? So here it is. I go to advanced editor. I could just paste this in here if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that because that's Alex Power's demo. So I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm going to go more into the Datamart. So once you've landed it, you've defined all your items, you've landed your information. That's when you're going to go into your Datamarts and be able to. You'll have to define them again, but this does give you the opportunity to add in additional transformations. You know, this is where you go in and you do those changes on your information. Okay. Now, the great thing about our Datamarts is once you're inside of it, you can actually go into the settings on your Datamart and you can get the server settings on it. So you've brought all your data in, you've landed it, you've loaded it. You can go here and you can go ahead and copy that over and you can fire up your old trusty SSMS. Right? So I can go ahead, I could take that connection string, go to connect database engines, plop it in, and I will be connected into my Datamarts like I would any other SQL server that's out there. This is basically an Elastic Pool SQL Server database. So if you're looking for documentation on it, or like what are the specs or how things work or operate, go ahead and look up all of the Elastic Pool capabilities and capacities. It's all out there. Now, it is a special flavor of Elastic Pool. So there's some limited functionality and capabilities here, like you can't run create statements, you can't create views today. So if you're watching this on YouTube and it's it's significantly past July of 2022, maybe cross your fingers. We now have the ability to create views and we have the ability to create stored procedures and stuff like that. But until then, you just basically have the same functionality though when it comes to querying your content. So right click, select top 1,000 records. You know, it just runs and you have access to it. Oh, come on now. Don't make me a liar. Always best laid plans of mice and men, right? But real easy to go in, write your queries. Maybe I stop it and react. Whatever. But like I'm able to go in and write a very basic query, like, hey, I just want to do, I want to join to my fact table. I want to, you know, join it, or I want to take my fact table, I want to join it to my date dimension. I want to do it group by, right? And I can run this, I can get my results, right? Just like I normally would, right? Now, here's where the magic starts to come in, is not only can I run this inside of my data on Management Studio, but I can go over to my my Datamart inside of the Power BI editor, and I can run that same query right here, right? So if I don't have Management Studio, I don't even know what Management Studio is, right? Like, I just got out of college and I'm a marketing major and I know a lot about product. I know a lot about other stuff, right? But data seems interesting, but I don't know Management Studio. Hey, I can go in here and I can start to work with this. And oh my gosh, it's right there, right? Like, I just have access to it. And I have this wonderful little button here, open in Excel. Oh, I can open that guy up. And now I have, enable editing, right? Enable content. Don't make me a liar. Yep. Oh, it's asked me, do I want to run this? Yeah, I want to run that. Okay. Oh, and here's the big thing. It's never your Windows account. Everyone thinks it's your Windows account because, hey, like Windows, right? No, it's never your Windows account. At least not anymore. It's never your Windows account. So it's always your Microsoft account. Like, don't screw that up. Everyone makes that mistake because it's the first thing. They're like, do you want your Windows account? And everyone says yes. And then everyone comes to Power Hours and says, why can't I connect to anything? It's because they chose the Windows account. But now I've got an Excel workbook. I've now extracted this information out. If I go into data, queries, and connections, oh my gosh, it's right here. I can even go to like edit. I can go to my advanced editor, and I could even go in here and I could write a different query against this, right? So like this gives me a connection to my database that's right up here. Now, and I guess I have to go way to the end here to find where's my select statement start, but it's in there, right? So there it is, right? I could go in here, I could go and edit this. I could write out, you know, a nice little reporting suite or to bring the data in out of my Datamarts. For example, if you work inside of finance and you want to create some narratives and some commentary on what's going on inside of your space. You want to do that inside of Excel because that's what you've always done, but you want to leverage data. Boom, here's your connection in. All right. Super easy to do, real easy to get that up and running. I'm going to discard all this stuff for now. Okay.
Hey, Chris, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you need SSMS or anything installed on your local machine to do this? Or is this all cloud-based, 100%? It's all out there.
So this is all cloud-based. Launching in Excel is Excel. So you don't need to have, I mean, you need to have Excel installed, but you can 100% do this all inside the service, right? So that's inside here, you know, you can even go in and you can actually build out a query, right? So you can actually go in and go through the process of whatever. You can go through and you can build out your entire query doing your commands inside of here. All right. I'm gonna keep going because I had some other things I want to hit on, but you can visually build it out, or you could write your classic T-SQL statement on here and stuff like that. Okay. And in fact, this is super cool. Like remove columns. I don't want to have some of these things, right? Like, you know, that's awesome, right? But you know, tons of power inside this visual builder. I honestly, if I didn't know T-SQL, I'd spend more time with this. Okay, so we've done the connection to the database. That's great. Now, we ran the query. Now, So one of the big things that we always want to make sure that we're doing inside of our Datamart, remember I said we want to focus in on quality, okay? And so if we're doing our loads, we want to make sure that we keep an eye on what's going on with our validation. All right, what's going on with our loads from into our Datamart, as well as a load against the direct query, or against that actual source. Okay, so we're just gonna take whatever we built and we're gonna stick this into a dashboard. Right, we're gonna load in that base information that's coming in from that's coming in from wherever your data flow. So this would be your data flow, and your validation query would be going back against that source query. Okay. Then we create a couple of measures around this, and I do recommend always counts and amounts. All right. Make sure you have the right number of records and make sure that they add up right. Right. So, just because you got the 15 million records that you're supposed to have, if the dollar amounts or the values are all zero, you're off. You're wrong, right? Like you're missing the boat here. So always go through and build out a Power BI report that allows you to track these things by these different by at least one dimension. So you can go through and say, okay, across these different counts and amounts, I have in this case, I've got 4 different dimensions or 4 different values that I'm testing out that this is good. Okay. So this is kind of like an MVP that I have and track out there. When you build this, though, to ensure that you've done this right, that you've built out your data flows, that you've built out your Datamart correctly, then I want you to deploy that out into the service and run this every, you're going to schedule your loads at 6:30. You're going to schedule your validation at 7 a.m. Okay. That's going to ensure that every time, you know if you have any issues. Then on top of this, you set up a new Power BI metric that tracks and monitors your data to ensure that you have good, high quality information flowing through. Okay. This is something that is great that you can even, you can use to, just track that information. And I'm actually going to quick cut over to my thing before we go over to questions. But here's the one that I said I've got to screw up. So I just put out a video on this, so do check this one out. Tomorrow I have a video where the 3 of me get together and we build out this report and we show you how to do this. So this is a preview of the video that's coming out tomorrow. I apologize. Order of operations here. But now I can see across a number of different dimensions, and I make sure that I validate, again, accounts and amounts across each one of my dimensions when it comes, what I get when it comes to valuations and validity. And then I track those inside of a Power BI metric space so I can see when and where I have issues. And I can then comment on them to say, hey, this is an issue. What the heck is going on with this, right? And better yet, because I've done this, and because there is a Power BI visual that allows you to embed a metrics app inside of your Power BI, now you can have a data quality scorecard that's added into any and all of your Power BI reports that sits on top of your model, allowing for users to, if they see that there's an issue inside of a report, they can go in and they can provide feedback to you, the new citizen data engineer, that there's an issue, right? And I can actually see that, like, hey, Power BI Luchador, you need to fix this, right? Like, in fact, I'm going to include a new note to Luchador. What the F at, where'd you go? Power BI Luchador. Yeah. Save that. What the heck happened now, right? Like, that's, I don't know why my data got all screwed up. Oh, well, I do know, but but now you can do that, and your users can see that communication. So if they're trying to provide that information and feedback to you as a citizen data engineer, now you have a great way to do that. All right. So you really kind of close that loop around all these different aspects of when it comes to creating and managing pipelines, and then when it comes to users consuming and using your content. All right. Now, I want to leave some time for questions and answers. So what can I do to help you guys out, or what questions do you guys have about this? No, and everyone's perfectly good?
Chris, how would you get started using Datamarts to kind of create this citizen engineering buzz? Like, what's a good way to kind of get going or get it out there? Because a lot of organizations and clients that I work with, they're brand new to Datamarts. They don't understand it. They've never done it before. They probably like the idea of citizen engineering, but like, how do you make it real?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that really does start. really with following the exact same process that we did when it came to starting to use Power BI data flows, right? Take a key Power BI report. And I kind of showed it to you, right? Like you can go in, transform your data, grab whatever this is, right? And now you can start to build out your pipelines, right? So you're taking stuff from something people know, right, which is Power BI, right? You're taking M code, which might be, they may not realize that this is here, right? Like, they clicked on advanced editor a few times. They didn't know what the heck this was, right? Because that was a hot mess. So they just kind of closed it and went on. But you can show them how to take the content out of there, show them how to take that into a Power BI data flow, right? How to create that actual data flow inside the space, bring that into a Datamart, and then start to build out, migrate their reports from their embedded Power BI dashboard solution over into an integrated or a Power BI deployment solution. And you'll frequently, this is really effective, especially when teams, they've built out a Power BI report, right? And they love this. They love this report, right? So, oh wait, where's my here? They love this report. This report's their favorite report. This is great, right? It's got all the data that they need. They really enjoy it, right? But now they want to have another report. So they take that same data set and then they split it off and then they build out this report. Now they really like this report. And then they do that 14 more times. And so now they have 14 data sets. And anytime they need to make a change or they need to do a refresh, now it becomes this big onerous thing, right? By bringing this out and splitting up into data flows and then putting into a data set, that makes it easier for them so that if they have to make a change in one place, it's they do it one time and then they don't have to do it in each of their additional reports. The advantage of the data flows is that it continues to simplify and break down those processes, right? So instead of me having to manage a data set with these 50 tables in it, and if I try to do a refresh and I can't refresh all 50 tables, my refresh fails, right? If I break them out into individual data flows that are in individual data flow buckets, and make sure they understand that they should do that too, right? Totally possible to put like 50 data flows into one flow or different loads. Don't do that. Do one at a time, schedule them, right? What that, again, it allows for you to run them independently. Like you say, okay, run these all at 7 o'clock. As Power BI finishes, it'll finish writing it and just move on. But then you can have dim reseller fail while everything else succeeded. Okay, well, now you only have to troubleshoot dim reseller. And it's much easier to know that you're troubleshooting dim reseller when a data flow fails versus, oh, my data set failed. Well, what failed on it? I don't know. Connection string load error. I don't know what the hell that means, right? Like, they get totally lost by that. This makes it really easy for them to troubleshoot and resolve. Adding in the step of the Datamarts, right? If you watch the video, oh wait, no, I was on the right board. If we look at how I created this, it was through the use of, oh my God, I didn't save that. Moron. My bad. Sorry, I guess I have negative self-talk, so I apologize. Basically, I leverage a composite model, right? Here's my model. Here's the information I pull in, but I'm leveraging a composite model by adding in a query, doing all of the joins from that. And it's this query that you can actually, which is something you would be hard pressed to necessarily always be able to write that against a backend database, especially if the backend database isn't where all this information is coming from. If you're pulling stuff in from, if this is Excel and this is a SharePoint list and it's all over the place, by going out to here, you can do a refresh and you can start to add in some degrees of validation on top of that and say, yeah, that is refreshing it's right and it's accurate to what we'd expect it to be. All right, so those are the steps I'd run through, right? Like I'd show them how to do all these things. I break down a Power BI report or a data set that's in heavy use and show people how easy it is to do that, and then start to work with here. And then as we kind of led into, I do remind people, I carry this book with me. If you're on early, all new software, in fact, stop sharing screen. All right. I'm big now, right? Like I'm like you can all see me, right?
Yep.
All new software follows this pattern. Okay, so this is anytime new code is rolled out, they roll it out, test it, see what people like, then they refactor it. Okay, so it basically goes through this process. At first it sucks, then it becomes okay, and then it becomes great. All right, this is the agile process. Suck, okay, great. All right. RBI data set or Datamarts are in they're kind of in the suck phase right now. It's been rolled out for like 15 minutes. Okay. So don't like get too overly concerned about that. It's going to move into the okay phase very, very quickly. All right. The Power BI team is great at that stuff. Know it, start using it, understand what works, what doesn't work. But come in with that mindset that like it's not going to like knock your socks off necessarily on day one, but it has a lot of, understand what it does and what it does well and use it for that. And if it doesn't do it, it doesn't do it. Just set that to the side and move on. Okay. Samantha has a question.
Yeah, so I'm pretty new to like the data flow stuff. I basically make data sets and then use those over and over to create reports. So
Sure.
Is it kind of like a data mart encapsulates a bunch of data sets, or like how could you explain that really simply?
Yeah, fantastic question. Yes, Samantha, that is what you would do with the data mart. Is instead of having a whole bunch of different data sets, right? You would bring that all into a mart. So like you would load your customer table once, you'd load your date table once, you'd load these things once, and then from there you'd build out your data set, right? And so you can have a bunch of different data sets, right? But your data mart is that focal center point where you load all that information into. And then because you can, you've got your different data sets to come off of that, you can write those central validation queries that you can use in either of those places to ensure that things are tying out and they validate out, right? So 100%, Samantha.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. And then
Yeah.
my next question is, because of where you work, are you in Milwaukee?
I am in Milwaukee.
That is originally where I'm from, so
Oh.
I just had to ask.
Well, yes. So Summerfest that just wrapped up, and
yes.
all right. For those of you who are not from Milwaukee, Milwaukee is they call us the city of festivals. We have a different huge festival every weekend because, like when the winter hits, there's like 6 months all we do is stay inside and drink, and then for like, and then it's like rainy out, and so we stay inside and drink, and then before that it's like rainy and cold. It's rainy and warm in the springtime, rainy and cold in the fall. So we're drinking for like 9 months a year indoors. And then when summer hits, we just take all of our drinking and we go outside. And it is, be careful if you go drinking with someone from Wisconsin. It's not a joke. We take it very seriously. There's look up, if anyone wants to look up a ratio of liquor stores to grocery stores, or bars to grocery stores, and you'll pull up a state of the U.S. map, and you can see the boundary of Wisconsin clearly outlined, where we're the only state that has, where every county has a higher bar to a grocery store ratio than the other way around. So, yeah, there should be a dashboard on bars to grocery stores. Fantastic. Samantha, so does this make sense? Are you going to go and do this?
I'm going to do a lot more research because I am kind of that citizen data engineer right now.
Okay.
I didn't have a mini title for it, but Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what we're working on right now is to be able to publish out these data sets for other people to just create reports. So if there's an easier way when things, break, so you don't have to go through and fix 10 different data sets, that makes a lot of sense.
Samantha, that is spot on. Create in one workspace, create all your data flows into a Datamart, okay? And then another workspace, create your data sets that source from that, okay? Manage those two things and then send reports out on top of that, and you're golden, okay? And you do that trick of like doing that data engineering thing with like validation stuff in it with the oh my gosh, like people like lose their mind with that. Like I have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in licensing to different service providers in order to leverage that functionality and other tooling, and you can just have it inside of Power BI now. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. In fact, if anything, be forewarned, your actual data engineers will get very afraid of you because you'll be delivering on something that is hard to do. So awesome.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? I apologize. I have another meeting I've got to jet to. So I really thank you guys all so very much. This is my favorite topic. I believe in you. I believe you can do it, Samantha. I believe everyone out here, if you want to become a citizen data engineer, you can do it. All you have to do is take the reins like Samantha has, and you can deliver on this stuff. And if you do, and Samantha, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from anyone else out there who goes out and does this stuff, because I want to hear how it goes. I want to hear what's going on. All right. So thank you guys so very much. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.
Thank you, Chris. This was an amazing session. Thank you, everyone, to jump in, and appreciate to be here. Any other words, Wes, to close the meeting?
If you got sun outside, go and enjoy it.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Have a good one.